All right, so we're going to move on to the coolest concept in psychology, Maslow's hierarchy. Now, how many of you want to know how you work? I do, and I bet you do too. So check this out. Maslow's hierarchy is a pyramid, or basically they depict it as a pyramid. Now, at the very bottom of this pyramid, you have just basic needs, but then it goes all the way up to our intellectual needs. All right, follow me on this. I swear I'm going to try to keep this from being boring. So at the very bottom of the pyramid, you've got physiological needs, okay? I need Taco Bell. I need McDonald's. I need food. I need to have a roof over my head. Well, that's technically the next tier. But you need to have the ability to live. So you need food, you need water, basic stuff, right? And then you move on to safety needs. Okay, your safety need is I want a house. I don't want to have to worry about predators killing me, lion. I don't want to have to worry about that stuff. So I've got a safety need. Like, the less I'm worrying about my safety and, I've got a home, I've got people around me, neighborhood watch, like, yeah, this is cool. I don't feel danger anymore. Yay! Okay, that's another need we have. But there's something missing. People. I'm in society, but I'm not in society. And that's where we need that. The third tier to Maslow's hierarchy is love and esteem. I want friends. I don't want to be lonely. I want to have somebody to love on at night. That is a need. Now, it's not an immediate need. Your immediate needs are, okay, I need food, I need water, and then I need to feel safe. Okay. I feel safe, I feel economically secure, and now I want to get into a relationship. The relationship could be friendship. Like, don't get me wrong, bromances are a real thing, okay? That's where you get best friends from. That's a bromance. Women, you have it too. It's just bromance kind of rolls off the tongue better. But women have bromances too. Yay! But the third tier is love and esteem. You need to have friends, and you need to have, or at least we want to have, some kind of physical relationship, usually. I mean, there's a very small percentage of people out there that really don't have any desire to have any sort of physical connection with anybody. But for the rest of us, it's actually built into our psyche. It's built into us physiologically. It's built into our genetic code. It's here. So let's explore why that is. One of the cruelest things that you can do to a prison inmate is put them in solitary for a long period of time. Why is that? When you don't have social interaction or physical contact, it changes us on a chemical level. It changes us on a brain chemistry level. So what happens to these inmates that are basically out in the cold, in solitary confinement, not interacting with another person? They get food, they got a toilet, they're good, right? I mean, they should be. They've got the safety thing taken care of. They got the food thing taken care of. So why do so many of them go freaking crazy? Well, that's because of a couple different chemicals inside your body that need to be released. When you hug somebody, like not just a handshake like, hi, how you doing? No, it's not. When you do an actual hug and you embrace somebody, it releases a chemical called oxytocin. Now, if you go without, and I don't recommend you try this, but I have. And if you go a good enough period of time without hardly any physical human contact, or at least not any positive one, then what ends up happening is you get this oxytocin rush, meaning they give you a hug, and all of a sudden it just, you feel a rush. That's oxytocin being released into your brain. Now, oxytocin is called the love chemical. Oh yeah. And the love chemical, it balances out the other chemicals in your brain, because when you don't have oxytocin and when you just have an excess of serotonin, which is going to build up, cortisol, serotonin, it's going to build up when you don't have active friendships and physiological connections. Okay, when you don't have those, then serotonin and cortisol, they make you stressed, which we'll talk about PTSD in another episode, and they make you depressed. They change your brain chemistry, but this wonderful thing called oxytocin can come around to where all of a sudden you get out of that private cell and, well, I'm not going to go in that. I'm going to use a different analogy for this one. Some of y'all got why I'm doing that. But let's say you get out of jail and you go back home, and then one of your parents walks up to you and says, welcome home. He gives you this big old loving hug, and you feel that rush after being in solitary. Or let's say you've been ostracized and kind of pushed away from society, and then somebody comes up behind you while you're sitting at your desk in high school and gives you that hug from behind, just out of nowhere, just because they missed you. That releases oxytocin into your bloodstream and into your brain. And that serves a social need because we are social creatures. That's how we survived. We banded together because we don't exactly have claws like the only time you see that is when you don't want to see that. And we don't have like sharp teeth or anything like that. We've got fang, 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 fang. That's it. Okay, we are in the animal kingdom, we don't have many physical defenses. But our biggest defense is by banding together. And we've been doing it for so long, for so many generations. Tens to hundreds of thousands of years, possibly millions. And it's ingrained into us. We need to be around other people, or at least most of us do. I mean, there's always a genetic deviant. Like there's always somebody, off in the far, because that's how genetics works, which I can explain in another episode. We need to be around people. So we need to have that esteem and that love. Get that Barry White going. But without that, we are deprived of a necessary chemical that is required for us to be able to function 100%. Long story short, that tip of the pyramid right in the middle, we just need to feel like we belong. Or at least most of us do. I mean, there's a few deviants that they don't necessarily need to be around people, but for example, I'm an omega personality archetype, or subtype, excuse me. I'm an omega, which means omegas, we can be around people, we can not be around people, we're fine. Even omegas need to be around people at some point. So no matter how much of a recluse you are, you will have changes in your chemistry if you're isolated long enough. But then we move on to the fourth and second to final part of that pyramid. Now, keep in mind, Maslow's hierarchy, people can break all of those down into, no, there's 18 of them. Like you can really take it out and say, no, you need this, need this, need this. I'm giving you the high level approach, okay? So the next one is esteem. Okay, you're in society, you're around people, you got your food needs taken care of, you got some safety around you, safety in numbers, safety in having a roof over your head, safety economically, you're doing good. So why do we still want more? Well, it's called esteem. So we want to feel valued. We want to feel valued by other people in society, by society in general. We want to feel like we're worth something to the people around us, to the society around us. So we work for that better position, we work for that better job, we work for more friends, wider friends. I mean, Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, there's a phrase called Instagram famous, where basically you have so many followers that you're basically famous. Kinda. Pseudo-famous. Beta-famous. Yay! You've got YouTube subscribers, you've got Twitter followers, you've got Facebook friends or whatever it is. You've got all these different ways to gain esteem. And when somebody gets challenged, say for example, you're watching a news debate or Bill Maher and people are biting at each other, going back and forth. They do so very passionately because if you are diminished, then you don't have as much esteem. And that goes back into the ego. So what you need is esteem, or at least most of us do, the vast majority of us. And by having that esteem, you feel better about yourself. You get that promotion, you find out people like you, you feel good about yourself. A lot of people like you, that feels good. It's pretty amazing. That is a psychological need that we have. We want to feel better about ourselves in society. We don't just want to, hey, I do good. I've got a wife, kids, or husband, kids. I've got a spouse and no kids. Woo woo! So you've got all your basic needs taken care of. Why do we still want more? It's the esteem need. We need to feel valuable to the society around us. Now we're going to bring ourselves to the pinnacle, the top of that pyramid. Boom! Right there on the cap. Self-actualization. Okay? How many of you have a passion? I have a passion. And why do we pursue our passions? Why don't we just work jobs that we hate all the time and not look for any other jobs? Just hey, I'm going into the coal mine. Wish me luck. Why do we do that? And why do we look for something else? Why is that coal miner working on cars? Well, they like those cars. Self-actualization is the ability to essentially provide for yourself, working to the fullest of your abilities, throwing your all into it. Everything you got into something you're passionate about, or at least really good at. Because what you're really good at, I'm not going to just show you the middle finger, promise, but what you're really good at usually coincides with your passion. Okay, because you're passionate about it, you study it, you go into it, you throw your all into it, and then you're good at it. I believe it was a Harvard study in 2014 that said to become an expert, you need 10,000 hours of relevant practice, experience, and application. Or a year. If you have something that you're an expert at, like if fantasy football is your number one, it could be working on cars, it could be anime. Well, there are people who have anime blogs. They talk about cartoons all day and they make good money from it through advertising. I know these one guy, if you look up TeamFourStar, one word, TeamFourStar, all spelled out. They do Hellsing Abridged and Dragon Ball Abridged. They love anime, but they're also comedians and they love to create. So what do? They make a true living basically taking old anime shows and re-putting words to them, like putting new voices to them, recutting them to look different, to flow different. They create an entire world based on an existing world in anime, and it's hilarious. Not exactly, kid-friendly, but it's hilarious if you're into any of that stuff. They are self-actualized. They're doing exactly what they love to the fullest of their abilities, and they're supporting themselves with it. So TeamFourStar is doing what they love to the fullest of their abilities, and they're supporting themselves with it. That's a pretty amazing accomplishment. That's literally following your dream and accomplishing your dream. I know plenty of people like this. I know mechanics that are like that. I know scientists that are like that. Being self-actualized is the pinnacle of just human achievement. You don't have to be a millionaire or a billionaire. If you're doing what you love, every day is a friggin' vacation, even when it's not, even when you're working, grinding, just pushing it out. You're doing what you love to the fullest of your abilities and you're supporting yourself with it. That is the pinnacle of Maslow's hierarchy. So we're gonna recap real quick. Okay, so first, you gotta have food and water, like maybe a place to sleep, preferably. And you don't wanna just sleep, under a tree. No, you wanna have some place that's safe, the second tier. You've got the need for food and sustenance and just basic survival stuff. And then you have the need for safety. And then you have the need for society, to have friends, to have a loved one, to have relationships. You have those needs that are built into us from literally being a society since the beginning of time. That's why we survived as a species, if you want to go into evolution. And if you don't, then just go into any religion. They all say basically the same thing. Forsake not the gathering of yourselves. Like, hey, stick together. That's kind of how we do. And then, on top of that, you've got the esteem need. Okay, I've got people around me, and I don't necessarily like them, but I want them to like me. I want them to like me. So you've got the next one, which is the esteem need, right? You've got people around you, you've got relationships and whatnot, but you want people to like you. You want to feel respected. You want people to accept you for who you are and enjoy it. That's where the Instagram famous thing comes from. Everybody wants to be a celebrity, right? Not everybody, but a lot of people, they think it would be nice. Some people want to be a politician. Okay, that's esteem. And that's something that, okay, when you've got family and you've got a loved one and you've got friends and all of that, why do we still want more? And that's the esteem need. And then the pinnacle of Maslow's hierarchy, the pinnacle of psychological needs for us, where we feel we don't have any more needs whatsoever, is when you can do what you love or what you're at least good at. Because if you're good at it, chances are pretty good that you love it. You're doing what you love to the fullest of your abilities, throwing everything you got into it, and you're making a living doing it. And I can tell you from experience, every day is a vacation. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Wish y'all well.